guys, welcome to Raw Customs. I'm your host, Patrick Apollo, and on this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Batman Mecha helmet for the new Batman vs. Superman movie that's coming out next month. I came up with some templates for this, so I'll leave a link below for that. Take you to my Facebook page is where I'll have those at. Now for the main body of this build, I used 1/4-inch foam. It comes in the rolls. They're 4 foot long, roll out to be 6 foot long. You can pick them up at auto parts stores, probably home improvement stores most likely. They run about $20 for a whole roll of it. You also need some scrap 1/2-inch foam. The big square, you know, walk on the floor or whatever. If you've already been doing props, then you've probably got some scrap of this already laying around. All you need is a little bit for this build, so you won't need to go buy a whole sheet to do this. Also, some 5mm craft foam, which I actually picked up at Hobby Lobby. You can probably find it at most craft stores. It runs a couple of bucks. Now, if you want your eyes to light up, then you'll need some LEDs. Now, the ones I used, I actually picked up at Walmart. They came with the battery pack. There's a little button in the store you can push and they light up. So those are the ones I'd be looking for. I know you can also pick them at auto parts stores. Pep Boy sells them for sure. That's where I bought my last set. These are the same ones I used in the Iron Man helmet build, so you can refer back to that episode if you have any questions about them as well. Alright guys, let's see how to do it. For this build you're going to need a heat gun, glue gun, a razor knife, a Dremel, airbrush, 1/4-inch EVA foam, 5mm craft foam, 1/2-inch foam, mat tool, LEDs, sunglasses, a switch, painter's caulk, spray paint, plasti dip, and contact cement. Start with your back template. Make a relief cut from the V down to the front corner. Do this on both sides. Then make a relief cut in the center. Leave just a little connected at the edge. This will make it easier to reposition your template. Next, close up your gaps. Make them even at the top, and then tape can be used to secure your template. The outer edge for the template for the top of the helmet is a little off. Here's how to fix it. Start by lining up the points at the top of the eye socket. Roll the piece around and find the back positioning. Take a scrap piece of paper, line it up on the edge and to the point where the front of the ear starts. And then just use some tape to hold it in place. Then you can just cut off any excess you might have. Onto the side template. Start by tracing it out on your phone. I'm making some hash marks here. This is where bevel cuts will need to be made. You'll need to make a bevel cut on the back edge. Tilt your blade slightly and make your cut. Where bevels aren't needed, just go ahead and make your normal 90-degree cut. A bevel cut will need to be made at the top of the helmet as well. Onto the top of the helmet. You'll need to make bevel cuts on the outside edge, the back, and what will be the center of the helmet. For the cut for the center of the helmet, make a very shallow bevel cut. When these two pieces are glued together, you'll want them to be almost flat. Next, take your template for the lower back piece of the helmet. You'll need 2 copies of these. Tape them together and then trace them onto some 5mm foam. Once traced, cut your piece out. Once you're finished, you can go ahead and separate your two templates. Next, take your chin piece and your jaw piece and tape them together. Then attach the template for the lower back portion of the helmet. Next, cut off the portion where it curves down and tape it in place on the back edge. Make these modifications on both sides to make one large template. Now the template can be traced on your foam. Add about a ½ inch at the top on each side. This will allow you to glue it in later. On the side of the helmet, on the back side, you'll need to mark these areas around the ear, around the eye, and the lower portion. All this will need to be sanded smooth. Next, use a heat gun to heat your piece. And then slightly bow it. You're just wanting to give it a little roundness and body. The piece for the eye, go ahead and bend in. The lower portion for the back of the helmet will need to be sanded smooth as well. Heat your piece and slightly bow and round it as well. The piece for the top of the helmet will need to be sanded smooth around the eye. Heat your piece, bend it down around the eye, and then slightly round it going to the back end. The upper portion of the chin area will need to be sanded smooth. Now it's time for assembly. Start by applying contact cement on the inside edge of the top of the helmet. Do this on both sides and allow it to sit for about 5 minutes. Line your two pieces up at the edge of the nose and press them together. Take your time here, make sure you keep your pieces lined up even on the top and work your way to the back. Glue for your side piece. Attach these two pieces starting at the top edge of the eye and working your way to the back. Take a piece of 5mm foam and trace it out around the back edge of the nose. Cut this piece out and glue it in place on the back side. Move the portion that sits under the eye in place at a slight angle against the nose. Glue the back in place starting at the lower edge and working your way to the top. Now glue the top to the back. I recommend starting in the center and working your way out. Next, heat up the lower portion of your helmet. Form it to fit inside the upper portion of the helmet. Next, heat your jaw area and make your bends to form that area as well. Mark the center on the back of your helmet for a reference point. Glue in the lower portion of the helmet, starting at the center point you made. Take the jaw template and draw out a rectangle and cut it out. Line up your template and trace a square onto your helmet. Cut the top, bottom, and front edge. This will allow you to recess this area. Next, lay on your 5mm overlay. Trace that area out where it'll set. Then apply glue to the area that you marked, as well as the back side of the overlay. Once your glue's set, you can glue your piece into place. Next, take the template for the jaw area and trace out the mouth area onto some 5mm foam. Add about a ½ inch to the lower edge of this to glue inside the helmet. Then add around a ½ inch on the inside edge. This area will be seen. Then cut this piece out. Glue your piece into the inside area of the jaw. Take a piece of paper and put it in the open area by the ear, and then trace out the curve. Cut that area out, then trace it onto some ½ inch foam. Place your foam into position and then trace out the ear. Cut your earpiece out. On the back side, you'll want to cut a bevel and sand your rough side smooth. Glue it into place on the back side. A Dremel with a sanding wheel can be used to smooth everything out and form your ear. Once I had the ear formed, I went back over it with a grinding stone just to smooth everything out. Painter's caulk can be used to fill up gaps as well as smooth out rough areas. To make battle damage, I took a razor and made shallow cuts into the helmet. Then I used a heat gun to open up the cuts. Next, a couple of coats of Plasti-Dip to seal the helmet. Follow that up with 2 coats of silver paint. And then I used the airbrush to add a little more battle damage and tone down the silver paint a little. Next, take a cheap pair of sunglasses and remove the lenses. Cut you a small section of matte tool. Use a hot glue gun to put a small bead of glue on the edge of the lens. Then press the edge of your matte tool into the glue. Repeat this process for the rest of the lens to wrap the front. Next, cut out a square piece of foam. Place it on the inside of the helmet behind the eye and trace it out. Add about a ½ inch more to the bottom of the eye and then cut that area out. Apply hot glue to the bottom ends of your LED. Then glue them into the bottom portion of your cutout. Next, glue your lens to the back side of the cutout. Now your piece can be glued into the back side of the helmet. To turn the lights on and off, I took the button off an old flashlight and then soldered some wires onto it. I finished up by doing my wiring. I hot glued all the wires down to the inside of the helmet. Up here I put the battery pack at the top by the ear and the button down by the chin, and then covered everything up with foam tape. Alright guys, there you go, the Batman helmet all finished up. I think it turned out pretty decent. Fits pretty good. As far as vision looking through it, you can see through the eyes even when they're lit up. You can also see through the mouth area down on the floor. If you need to see forward better, you could actually tilt your head back and see through it farther out. So it's a pretty decent helmet if you wanted to actually go wear it to a Comic-Con or out for Halloween or something like that. Especially if you had to walk around at night a little bit with it, since it's got this open area, you can actually see a lot better through that area than you can through the lenses. I guess the number one tip I'd have for this helmet is, since it requires the bevel cuts to get the good look on the edges and the center, is to go ahead and take some scrap foam and go ahead and practice making your bevel cuts, and take your pieces and put them together and make sure you got your angles the way you want them before you actually start pulling your cuts. Well guys, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next build.